Rock and the fellow members of Lagoon Company found themselves caught in a trap. They attempted to use the lagoon to get as far away as they could from their assailants, who were chasing them via helicopter. But now, they had run out of fuel, and the only thing giving them cover were the groves of a few struggling islands off the coast of the Gulf of Roanapur. For now, they didn't have much in terms of ammunition, and if they tried to go out, it would practically be a suicide note. Well, at least for some of them. Of course, Rock wondered what Dutch was doing, why he was so scared to just go out there and deal with the enemy. After all, if what he said was true, that there was no way they could harm or kill him in any way, then what was the point? Of course, Benny would have to explain that just because Dutch was indestructible, it didn't mean that they were. But there was also another reason why Dutch kept his abilities to himself. It was because he didn't want any unnecessary attention. As Dutch would put it, if people knew who he was and what he could do, it would only bring the worst of the worst to his front doorstep. I don't get it. I don't expect you to get it, Dutch said. Tell me, you ever had your apartment laced with C4? You ever watched an entire block get blown up in smoke? It's because some people wanted to see how far they could go in trying to bring you down. That's what I've had to deal with, Rock. Once people learn about what I can do, it becomes enticing, almost like a challenge. Everyone trying to see what's it going to take to finally break me down. And if just one of these bastards get away, eventually word will get around to just who I am and where I'm at. And all that unwanted attention ends up following me. That's why I still fight with a gun. I want everyone to think that I'm ordinary, even if I'm not. And to the select few that end up learning the secret, they never live long enough to tell anybody. Then what are we going to do, Dutch? Revy would ask. We're surrounded by at least 4 of these choppers. There's no way we're going to get out without being turned into Swiss cheese. What if I take them out? Rock would ask. What, you? Benny said. Look, those glowing fists might be cool and all, but I don't think you're going to be able to. It'll be fine. I know I can take them down. All you need to do is create a distraction and give me an opening. Look at old Rock here, Dutch said. You must be really confident in yourself if you think you can take all 4 of them out. It's not like we have much of a choice now, do we? My boss has pretty much served me on a silver platter, so you can say that we're no longer enemies in that regard. Rock would hand back the disc over to Dutch. It doesn't really matter to me one way or another. I just don't feel like dying today, that's all. So what do you say? If you really think you can get us out of this, then by all means, go for it. Hey, can I borrow that? Rock said. As he pointed to a pile of dirty cloth and clothing, he pulled out something, a dingy yellow bandana. After pressing and ripping out some eye holes, he tied it over his face. Why do you need to wear that? Benny would ask. Oh, just for nostalgia, I guess. All right, let's do this. Dutch would work on keeping the distraction while Rock would sneak off of the ship. He would climb atop of the trees as he waited for his moment. Rock would concentrate as he began to draw in cursed energy into his body. It had been so long since he had gotten used to the sensation that it was almost exhilarating. At the same time, he had to be careful. In order to perform this technique, he had to perform the ritual that came with it. Long ago, there were a section of cursed magic users that came from the mountains of China, a place known as Kung Lung. They practiced a different art of cursed energy. They took it into themselves, but unlike the use of reverse cursed energy, which was the amplification of cursed energy onto itself to create the positive energy, they created their own positive energy in a different way. The user of this technique, which was known as Dorago Shikafu, would cause the user to bring in cursed energy into their body as much as possible before purifying it and releasing that negative aura. In order to do so, the user had to let go of all negativity, all hatred, all negative emotion. The reason why this technique was known by far and few, it was because in order to gain great power, you had to do the impossible. Dorago Shukafu is a cursed technique unlike any other, because it is the one cursed technique that in order to use it, you must let go of the very thing that grants you power in order to gain a new power. You must let go of your negative emotion in that moment. Let go of all the things that hold you back. When you fight an opponent using this power, you do not fight them with fists that are filled with fury of anger and hatred and rage. You could say that this technique is the ultimate example of killing someone with love. To strike down at your opponent and not feel anything towards them. To strike down your opponent and not carry any vitriol. This was the technique that Rock had been passed down by his master. Something that he had lost along the way in life, but now he would have to regain it. As he felt the negative energy being dissipated from his body, a golden glow would start to shimmer around him. This golden chi, an aura of calm and tranquility. For so long, he had built up resentment for his job, resentment for his life. And after all that time, he had more energy than he thought. But now, he took a final breath and he let go. As he opened his eyes again, he would jump high into the air. By the time that the flyer had seen what was happening, with a single kick, Rock would knock off the propeller of the helicopter, causing it to careen and crash into the waters below. He would do the same from helicopter to helicopter until all four were annihilated, allowing for Dutch to launch the final blow, emptying out the payload of torpedoes towards the fallen helicopters and destroying them in one fell swoop. Revy and Benny had watched what Rock had done, and it caused them to be very concerned. Who exactly was Rock? And how in the world could he do the things that he did? For now, the most important thing was that they were in the clear. Miss Balalaka, along with Hotel Moscow, would smooth things over with the Asahi Company. Even Mr. Kageyama himself personally arrived to retrieve what had been stolen. And, much to his surprise, Rock was still breathing. But there was no matter. For him, this was all in a day's work. Rokuro had done what was required of him in some way, and he could come back home and live life as he always had. But when Mr. Kageyama made the offer, Rock refused. He told him in no uncertain term that this was his tenure of resignation, that there would be no need for him to come back. He had no plans on it. Of course, Mr. Kageyama wasn't going to complain. If Rock was simply going to disappear into the filth, into the trash, then he had no reason to worry about him anymore. Instead, he and his attendant would catch the first plane back to Japan, leaving Rock as nothing more but a distant memory. Seeing as how he had nowhere to go, Dutch decided to give him an offer to join with Lagoon Company. After all, they could use a man of his ability. He could take care of himself in a fight, but he was also cordial. He had a level of demeanor, and perhaps that's what they could use for their image. Instead of always going in with guns blazing, it was better to have someone with a cooler head that could prevail in a sticky situation. And just like that, Rock became the official negotiator for the Lagoon Company. At least, before all hell broke loose, Rock would be the one to try to smooth things over with words and with reasoning. Revy wasn't really a fan of it, but she had no way of complaining either way. And for now, this is what Rock was doing with his life. As he slowly became acclimated with his new colleagues and with this world, he came to see that Roanapur was truly all of the disgusting things that he thought it was. Located in the South China Sea, a port, now in the Gulf, just on the outskirts there lied a Buddhist statue that was supposed to represent goodness and virtue. A place that was once meant to be the asylum for those who were persecuted, for those seeking to find a new life. It had now become the city of immorality. Yes, Roanapur, a place that was now forgotten to the world, a place that was known as the city of the dead. Because once you made your bones here, there was no going back. No one that came to Roanapur ever left the same, if they ever left at all. This city was harsh and unforgiving. This was the place where you had to learn quick, and if you didn't, you were just as likely to end up as another nameless body, if you even had something to identify yourself to begin with. For Rock, he could tell that this was a city filled with curses. As he was getting acclimated back to his power and to his senses, he could feel them. If cursed users wanted to come here, they'd have a field day. Of course, the curses were more on the small side, something akin to a lower grade, maybe 4th or 3rd. At most, you probably get a 2nd grade curse that might pop up around here, which was honestly remarkable given all of the death, decay, and scum. Although for Rock, it probably made sense. For the people that came here, how much regret could you really have in life? This was the place that solely whittled away at your own morals, at your own thought and reasoning. How could you ever curse anyone here when you were already cursed yourself? And this was probably what a lot of people accepted. For a place that could have produced the worst of the worst, it was hard to do so with people that had already accepted their fate in life. But for Rock, he just continued on in his regular demeanor. If there was one thing he had come to learn, it was that you didn't have to learn about other people's backstories. In fact, that was almost the unwritten rule of the Lagoon Company. Everyone had a past. Yes, that was true. But no one talked about it. Your past didn't really matter here. And for everyone, they kept their cards close to the vest. But from what Rock was able to deduce from little he saw, Dutch, at least that's what he called himself, had origins tied to the United States, New York specifically. Why he decided to call himself Dutch, Rock didn't know. But for whatever reason, Dutch would make a call back to the States from time to time. To be specific, it would be Harlem. Although why he had ties to Harlem, Rock didn't know. As for Revy, her ties also came from New York, the Brooklyn area to be more specific. But he couldn't get any further. And as for Benny, well, he used to serve with some special U.S. secret group or something, although the little he spoke of it. And then for Rock, he felt like the odd man out. It wasn't like everyone was asking him about who he was and what he did in his life, but he would answer whenever someone asked just how he could do the things that he did. But the answer was always the same, and eventually people stopped trying. Even if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. That was Rock's go-to line. Because in a way, who would believe him? Who would believe that at a young age, Rock was trained by a secret organization to wield a special power and fight against curses and demons and the like? Who would believe that in the year of 1999, under the summer solstice, Rock fought against mighty and powerful warriors to save the world from being engulfed as the portal to hell was almost opened? Who would believe a story like that? For Rock, that was all in his past life. A life that, for the longest of times, he tried to forget. There are no joys or benefits of being a jujutsu sorcerer, even for someone like him. When you watch your friends get massacred one by one, as time continues to pass, and you're left feeling this sense of emptiness, a classroom that was once filled with bustling students, by graduation, you're left with only a handful. And then who could forget when word came back about what Suguru Geto had done? For a lot of people, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Everyone thought that Geto was going to be one of the best, he and Gojo and the like. But when he massacred that village, it felt like he was too far gone. For the few that stayed, they tried to move on as best they could. Hell, even Nanami left and ended up getting a 9-to-5, and Rock followed suit. Although unfortunately, Rock couldn't find any success in that life either. The corporate world, much like the Jujutsu world, it was just as greedy, just as evil, and at times, just as unforgiving. It was a world that would kill you. If not physically, then mentally, spiritually, down to your very core until you were a lifeless drone. And now that world had abandoned him as well. Sure, he could have gone back home and perhaps rejoined the ranks, became a Jujutsu sorcerer again, but was that really what he wanted to do? It's not like they would even need him anyway. For now, Rock was content making his new life here. And as he found himself drifting out in the open waters with Revy on the deck of the Lagoon, as they were tying the knots and getting everything in order, the two of them being left alone, Revy finally became a little curious. Of course, it wasn't like she cared or anything. It was none of her business. But she just wondered. So really, Revy would say, what the hell are you, Rock? The things you can do, they're not normal. What are you, some type of lab experiment that went wrong? Like I said, it's yeah. If you told me, I wouldn't believe you. I swear to God, if you say that one more time, I will end you. What? You're gonna put a bullet in between my eyes? Don't tempt me, Rock. Fine. Hey, and why aren't you wearing that Hawaiian shirt I got you? It would look way better than that tacky corporate geek getup you're wearing right now. I went out of my way to buy you that thing, and I told you, I'm not going to wear that during work hours. And what? You think we do this as a 9-to-5? You think we have holiday parties and get-togethers? Oh, I bet you're waiting for the Secret Santa. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I bought Benny a blender last year. There is no Secret Santa, Benny would yell out. But she did buy me a blender, though. It worked for like 10 minutes. It was a hand-me-down. You got it from a pawn shop. And the half of the blades were missing. It's the thought that counts. Yeah. Well, that's the last time I'll buy you anything. All right, then. I'll tell you, if you really want to know. Revy turned her back, but she had an open ear. I used to go to a school. A school? What? Some fancy Ivy League school? Let me guess, you were the nerd of the class, right? You could say something like that. Fancy? Ivy League? Not even close. My school was called Tokyo Metropolitan Cursed Technical College. What? Tokyo Metropolitan Cursed Technical College. Yeah, I heard you the first time. Well, what the hell kind of a name is that? It was the name of a school where kids were trained to learn how to use cursed energy and cursed technique. Cursed energy? Yeah, cursed energy. It's a type of power in this world. It draws on your negative emotions. And once it's potent enough, you can then turn it into energy and use it at will. And what exactly can you do? Nothing special in the grand scheme of things. I took a more different approach. My teacher, a jujutsu sorcerer, he developed a technique that dispels the negative energy from cursed energy, creating a new kind of power. A power that's built on positivity and good vibes. At least, that's the simplified way of putting it. So you had this place where you learned how to use badass powers, and then you pussified it, Revy said. Well, to some, that's how it might seem. But it has its advantages. So you draw on negative energy? Then you must be in the right place. You don't get any more negative than Roanapur. Yeah, I've noticed. You guys have got a couple of curses walking around these parts. Wait, we do? Revy said. Yeah. Nothing grand or anything, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But you are right. A place like this is definitely a feeding ground for curses. It's just nothing but evil. Well, what do you expect in a city like this? You think this is going to be paradise? Far from it. So anywho, you went to this magical school, like what, Harry Potter or something, and you learned how to use your cool little magical powers. So how the hell did you go from that to working some regular schmegular 9 to 5? And even worse, you got your dumb ass stuck out here with the rest of us. Well, you get tired of the funerals, Revy. Revy's face turned from a smug, arrogant grin to that of seriousness. What? You get tired of the funerals. You know, every time one of your colleagues dies, you bury them if there's anything left to bury. But that curse, that regret, it stays with you for the rest of your life. Eventually, you just get tired of it. Every tombstone, every face, every time you see someone for the last time and you just think to yourself, you'll see them again in a few days. Everything's going to be just fine. Only to come around and realize that they're never coming back. Your friends get mauled, ripped, torn apart, destroyed in the most grisly ways possible because the situation got out of hand. And you start wondering whether or not you'll end up on the chopping block someday when your time's going to be up. So you ran away from all of that? You always have a choice, Revy. I thought that maybe I could make something else of my life, but I couldn't do that either. And yeah, now I'm here. Who knows? Perhaps this place will be the death of me too. You don't belong here, Revy said, as she snatched away at the ropes that Rock was tying to retie them herself. Their calm moment would soon be disrupted, however. As Dutch said, it wasn't uncommon to make enemies out here, and a rather slimeball Mr. Chin wasn't too happy that Dutch had turned down his offer of friendship. He had sent a couple of bomber boats out to the waters to sink the lagoon and kill Dutch and his crew. Rock was prepared to go into the fight, but Revy would have him sit this one out, because now she wanted to let off some steam. She put in her headphones, hit the cassette tape to play, and with a shotgun in one hand and a boomstick in the other, she meticulously took out the Unabombers going from ship to ship. For Rock, it was almost like an art form watching her in motion. The way she was able to shoot so effortlessly, taking out all of them without any care or thought. It was murder, but in the same time, it was art in motion. She was in her element. This is what she was good at. Punishment had to be served out. And for Revy, she was the Punisher. Once they were all in the clear, Dutch would make a call to Miss Balalaka, letting her know about the betrayal up front. And, to his credit, it would work out in his favor, as Mr. Chen would be paid a visit by Hotel Moscow. And unfortunately, once you check in here, you never leave. At least, not without being placed in a body bag, of course. But for this time, Miss Balalaka would make an exception. There wouldn't be any need for a body bag, because she settled on cremation. Shortly thereafter, there was an explosion in the city. A hotel room that was laced with C4 was set ablaze, and there were no survivors. For Dutch, all of this was in a day's work. This was life in Roanapur. Lessons were always taught on a daily basis. Mind your manners, mind what you say, and mind your actions. Because just as easily, it could be you sitting in a chair begging for your life as you have bombs placed under your pissing pants as you're sent to Kingdom Come. But there was no need to be a damper on this lightened mood. And for Dutch, he wanted to take everyone out for drinks. Dutch and Benny were already the first to leave, and Rock and Revy were going to catch up. As Revy was getting dressed, Rock would be waiting for her outside her room. "You want to know something, Rock?" Revy would say. "What?" "I used to have a good life, you know." She was actually opening up to him. Rock knew that it was better to keep his mouth shut. He didn't want to interrupt or scare her away. If she felt comfortable enough to speak, then he would listen to whatever she wanted to tell him. "My dad used to be a Marine," Revy would say. "He served in the Vietnam War. And he had a family before me and my brother. His first family." His first family, Rock thought. Unfortunately, when he came home, his family was taken from him. They saw some things they weren't supposed to see, and, well, the mob didn't want anyone talking. Do you know what it's like to watch your family be gunned down right in front of you, Rock? To see your children with their begging and pleading eyes as someone puts a bullet in the back of their skulls and their bloody holed heads go crashing through the table. That's what my father had to deal with. And it led him on a path of destruction. He had no family, nothing to live for, and nothing to lose. All he had was hatred and the skills to execute that hatred. And he went on a war path through New York, killing any and everyone that he could, anyone who he thought was a monster. My dad thought that the world had fucked him over, and he decided that it was time for him to start doing some of that himself. He became a one-man army against crime. And for the longest time, no one challenged him. And the few that did, they couldn't do enough to stop him. But eventually, he found love. And he started over. He tried to put his past behind him, and we were happy. But as if life were some sick and twisted joke, we found ourselves in the same scenario. Only this time it was my father who ate the bullet. My mother tried to protect me and my brother. They ran through her with a machine gun. When I woke up in the hospital, somehow me and my brother had survived, despite how many times we had been hit. But our mom and dad were gone. And all we had were each other. At least that's what we had for a while. Revy would stop talking as she opened the door slamming in the rock as she told him to hurry his ass. They had to get to the bar or else they weren't going to be able to enjoy any of the good fortune that Dutch was trying to give out. Of course, Rock would have wanted to hear more about Revy's past, but for now, he had heard enough. If only for the briefest of moments they had opened to each other about their past and what they had gone through. But like they said in Roanapur, you don't go digging up about the past, anyone's past. You don't live or concern yourself with the future because tomorrow is not promised to anyone. For tonight, the only thing you could do was live in the moment. Be in the present. Your past could not define you. And your future, that was to be determined. So for now, they lived in the present, laughing and drinking, never knowing what tomorrow would have in store. This concludes Black Lagoon, City of the Dead. What If Revy Was the Punisher? Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with Black Lagoon, City of the Dead. What If Revy Was the Punisher? Season 1, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.